Greetings to all the subscribers. Today's video is going to be, who are the primitive Baptists? Okay, so first let's describe the meaning of the word primitive. The word primitive actually means original. That's because these were the original Baptists. Now there was a split that took place in America in the 1830s, and from that you had the missionary Baptists and various other types of Baptists that became Southern Baptist and Free Will Baptist and some of these different names. But before all that happened, there were those who did not change. They stayed the way they had been for hundreds of years. As a matter of fact, they held to the Midland Confession of Faith that was written in 1655. I'm going to give you a link for that because that Confession of Faith is different from the Westminster Confession of Faith in some important areas, and also the London Baptist Confession of Faith. It wasn't written by theologians, it was written by elders of the church in the Midlands that dates back, well, hundreds and hundreds of years. The primitive Baptists are not Protestants. They are not reformers in the sense that there was anything they needed to reform because they weren't part of the Catholic Church to begin with. And I'm going to give you some links so that if you're interested in this area of study, there'll be a lot more information that you can follow. Some of the links are going to be Flint River pbc.org. Another one is going to be paradisepbc.org. Also, there will be marchtozion.com, and let's see, what else do I have in here? I'm going to put a link in for the Midland Confession of Faith and some descriptions about that, so that some of the things that I'm saying, you can verify these things if you're interested. Also, there's a message that I will link to by Elder Sonny Piles, who has been preaching as a primitive Baptist elder for probably 50 years or so by now, and this particular video is one of him where he's he's 75 years old, and this one, it's kind of recent, and it is a video on the 3 B's in the Bible that I'm going to talk about in a minute. Some of the things that sets the primitive Baptist apart from other types of denominations, as you would say, I'll explain a couple things right quick. Most all Christians are, they believe in election, okay? Whether it just determines what kind of election they believe in. Some of them believe in conditional election, which is the Arminian view. Even if someone says that they are not Arminian, if they're attaching conditions to the election for eternal salvation, then in a sense they are. And in conditional election, that means that there are conditions attached to one's ability to gain eternal salvation. There is something that we must do. So what does that mean? Well, if you must be baptized, or you must repent, or you must hear the gospel, or you must ask Jesus into your heart, or do an altar call, or any of those kind of things, that would be conditional salvation. There's a condition. Now, there is unconditional salvation, which basically means there's nothing that we can do. There's nothing you can do to be eternally saved. It is a monergistic work of God, meaning the work of one, and God in his own time regenerates the sinner, the lost soul, who is one of his elect from before the foundation of the world. Now, even the Calvinists believe much of this, and the Primitive Baptists agree with Calvinists in many areas. However, Primitive Baptists are not Calvinist. And some of the areas that they were different would be in regards to the rebirth, the spiritual rebirth, whereas the Calvinists would hold that there are means that must be implemented for someone to be spiritually born. The Primitive Baptists would say, well, there are no means. In other words, a person doesn't have to hear the gospel to be spiritually reborn, no more than one would have to hear anything or do anything to be born in the flesh. We are not born in the Spirit by anything we do. And of course, 1 John 5:1 is a good text to prove that rebirth, spiritual rebirth, takes place even before we believe, because we wouldn't be able to believe unless we were born again. That brings me to the 3 B's in the Bible. Now, this video that I'm putting up by Sonny Piles is about 49 minutes long, and it's very good. I can't say everything he said in 10 minutes in 49, but anyway, the 3 B's in the Bible are belief, baptism, and birth. Now, different schools of thought and different denomination hold to different orders of those 3 B's, and it is very important which order you hold to. For instance, A would be belief, then baptism, and then one is reborn. In other words, you'd have to believe and be baptized before a rebirth would take place. Church of Christ would say that. So in other words, unless somebody was baptized in water, they wouldn't be born again. Now, this is erroneous for sure. Now, the most common one that probably 95% of Christians out there have been taught and believe is that belief takes place, then spiritual rebirth takes place, and then one is obedient to become baptized in water. Hopefully they would be immersed in water and not sprinkled. I don't believe in people being sprinkled. I think you should be immersed as well. Now, where the Primitive Baptists would differ is that they believe that rebirth takes place first through no means of man, and then belief takes place second. So one has to be born again before he can believe. He has to have the heart of stone taken out and the heart of flesh put in before he can even have ears to hear the gospel and believe. And then, of course, the last B in that order would be water baptism by immersion by someone who is qualified to be the one baptizing. Okay, so I'm giving you the links, and hopefully all of this has been clear. And if it's not, well, you can, of course, ask me questions. And if any of you Primitive Baptist elders out there see this, and if there's something that I was not clear on or made a mistake about, please correct me, because I'm trying to be as truthful and knowledgeable about this as I can. God bless you, and I'm going to put those links up for you. And do watch the video by Elder Sonny Piles. It is a good one. Bye-bye.